the Military Magnet Academy in North Charleston, South Carolina, and this is the Veterans History Project. And sir, can you state your name for the record?
Yes, my name is Bernard Walker, and I'm a volunteer here at the Military Magnet Academy in the Social Studies Department, middle school, 7th and 8th graders.
Okay, so we can just, good morning first of all.
Good afternoon, Emily.
Okay, good, very good, thank you. Okay, so which branch of service did you serve in?
I served in the Army.
The Army, what made you choose the Army?
Well, I selected the Army, I guess, based upon the conversation of the recruiter while I was in high school. Yeah, therefore the Army became my choice of branch of service.
Okay, and so you chose because of your recruiter. Like, do you remember him? Like, what was?
I really don't remember my recruiter. It's been a few years back, 1964 to tell the truth. Yes.
Okay. So, like, when you got to boot camp training, was it tough or like easy for you?
No, boot camp was not tough. I was an 18-year-old just out of high school. Matter of fact, I graduated from high school on a Friday and signed up into the Army on a Monday afternoon. There was a group of us that met that had previously agreed with the recruiter to be a part of the military prior to graduation from high school. We met at the recruiter's office on that Monday morning in the city of Charleston, and a good guesstimate would be about 200 young men from around the Tri-County area that had recently graduated from high school. We were transported from the recruiter's office to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, given a physical, and shortly thereafter we were sworn into the Army. And I can remember that quite well because almost immediately after we took the oath, someone reminded us that we were soldiers and the attitude changed.
So is there anything like you remember like that sticks out in your mind when you were at basic?
Well, I think I remember most of what took place at basic. The meeting of new people, the interaction with folks that really had not interacted with in the past, had not really met or interacted with any of them. Yeah, and the fact that basic was a serious time of training, a very serious time of training. Drill sergeant, I remember my drill sergeant very well. He was a tough soldier, but a good person. And somehow we were able to manipulate him. When I said we, a couple of my buddies from Charleston area, we manipulated him almost every evening to allow us to go to the canteen.
So after you were finished with basic training, what did you do? Like, where'd you go?
My initial duty assignment after basic training was down at Homestead Air Force Base, Florida. My training there was OJT to become an electrician and a missile technician. I was assigned to a missile unit down there in Homestead. At that time in the mid-60s, the military had established missile bases around South Florida as a go-between, I guess, dealing with the recent incident between Cuba, Russia, and the U.S. Yeah, so I was assigned down there as a missile technician.
Okay, and how did you keep yourself entertained while you were there?
Were
there ways to do that? Or?
Well, there were lots of things to keep you entertained. We were busy during the day. I mean, we worked 12-hour shifts and then 24-hour shifts, 24 on, 12 off, whatever was required, but it was an ongoing duty assignment. Therefore, there was always a team working at the missile unit. When we were not on duty, we were 29 miles from the great city of Miami, Florida. So there was lots of entertainment between Miami, Florida, and the small towns between Miami and Homestead, and then crossing the bridge into the Keys. So yeah, great opportunity for learning and traveling, yes.
Okay, so when you served in the Vietnam War?
Yes, I did.
So when you heard you were going overseas, how did you feel?
I was looking forward to the assignment, really, to travel overseas and to participate in that war.
How did you keep in touch with your family? What did your family have to say about it?
Well, it was by mail. At that time, we didn't have all of the technology that we have now, so communication with family was always by mail, you know. So you would write home frequently, keeping them informed and trying to find out what's going on and to keep them settled. Yes.
Is there anything, like when you were over there, is there anything that sticks out in your mind?
Oh, I'm certain there are many things that stand out in my mind while I was over there. I mean, I was 19, just about to turn 20 when I was assigned it in Vietnam. Didn't know anything about it, really. Had never heard about it, and just didn't know. What I had the opportunity to observe there, yeah, all of it sticks out in my mind, or a great deal of it. To see the lifestyle of the people there, what was going on there and how we handled that war. I guess it eventually became a war. I think initially it was classed as some sort of police action, then the country became involved and that led into a war.
Did you have to do any things that you regret now while you were there?
No.
No?
No.
Okay. Do you still keep in touch with the people who you served with, the men who you served with?
Those that I can find, and yes, a few from the Charleston area that's still around. We communicate, yes. There were others from other parts of the country, and we pretty much lost track of each other. Yes.
Oh, okay. So, when you came back home from the war, did you have to adjust back to the way of life here, or was it you just jumped back into it?
I think that there's always some period or something of adjustment, but I came back home looking to continue to move forward. So within less than 30 days, I enrolled in technical school. In less than 6 months, I was employed at a company manufacturing helicopter engines for the war in industry. And I became a Class A machine operator, machinist. Worked in industry for about 3.5 years.
So that's after you came back home?
That's after I came back home.
Did you enjoy doing that?
Not really.
No?
No, I enjoyed the fact of learning the trade and being able to have that to add to my resume. But I really did not enjoy working in industry.
So what did you really want to do?
I wanted to handle it, but industry was not my forte. That there were some bad things that happened there at that particular company that I think kind of turned me off with the industry, yes.
Okay, are you in any organizations now? Like the veteran organizations or to help?
Oh yes, I'm a member of the VFW. Matter of fact, I served 15 years as the post quartermaster for my local post here in Charleston, South Carolina. And I'm also a life member of the Disabled American Veterans.
What do you do? Do you host get-togethers or?
Well, there are always monthly meetings and so forth. I am not a frequent attender of the monthly meetings, but I'm a volunteer patient advocate at the Veterans Hospital here in Charleston. So I list my organizations as a part of that participation.
Okay, what made you want to do that? Because I know a lot of veterans who don't want to really do things like that. What made you want to do that?
I guess it's just the nature of giving back, doing something, yes. Yeah.
Okay. What's your motto for life?
It's not going to be all you can be, I can assure you that. Just to help out, helping people along the way. That's why I'm here at the Magnet. Yes.
To help the younger kids?
Of course, give back and help those, yes. Yeah.
Do you enjoy helping the younger kids?
Oh, I love it. I mean, what do you think? I come here 2 days a week, and I've been coming to this school now for about 7 years, but I've been volunteering in the school system in the state of South Carolina for a total of 15 years.
Is there anything you would change about the school or the way things happen here?
Not about the school. I have some concerns with the way the curriculum is established, but the school does not establish the curriculum. That's sent in on the school from the district, the state, and elsewhere.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I have concerns about the curriculum, of course.
So I'm going to go back a little bit. Would you change anything about the Army? Like when you first started, have you seen things change now? Or would you like try to change things back to the way they were?
Well, I've seen the change. I've not been personally affected by the changes that I have observed, but...
What kind of changes?
Well, the Army is not... When I went into the Army, I mean, it was absolute discipline, strict training. The Army is not as strict now with the training and the discipline. As I enter onto military bases and installations throughout the country, during my period of serving in the military bases were pristine, if I could use that word. You would not find a piece of litter on the ground or even a cigarette butt left in the butt can because they were immediately empty. Now I go onto the bases and I see trash and debris and the grass is not well kept. So yeah, that's a change. But I guess that's a societal change that I can't do anything about.
So what is your what do you have to tell the people joining the Army now? What would you give them as encouragement or just advice?
Well, if there are those that really want to seek a career or an opportunity in the military, I would tell them to go for it. I mean, my time in the military was a great opportunity. It allowed me an opportunity to travel, to move about, to meet and to learn people.
Where did you go? Can you name all the places you went?
Well, as I stated earlier, my initial duty assignment was down in Florida. I went to Vietnam, but I got to travel to California. I traveled to Korea, to Hawaii, in a short period of time. Now, those were not necessarily duty assignments, but they were movement and transportation or short periods of training or whatever exercise.
Okay. Okay, so were you awarded any medals or citations?
Only those that were awarded as a part of the service in country and good conduct medal, yeah.
Okay, did you see any combat?
I saw combat. I didn't really participate in combat. I had a great duty assignment when I arrived in Vietnam. I was selected as the company security officer. And really, I traveled throughout the country attending security briefings and reporting back to the company commander twice a day. So I saw combat taking place. There were those that were assigned in close proximity to my unit that were deeply involved in combat, and there were those that were removed from the unit and assigned it to participate in some exercises. I missed those.
I imagine traveling around though in the war zones and stuff was not.
What was very challenging on certain days, yeah, very intimidating, yeah, to be out there in that truck with the driver, yes. And there were 1 or 2 days that we missed a turn and ended up somewhere that we really didn't feel very comfortable.
Did you lose anyone in your unit?
No, not the combat, no.
No casualties?
No combat casualties. We were an air defense unit. We had some serious incidents in close proximity. Our unit was located about maybe 10, 15 miles away from a military supply depot, and the Viet Congs would frequently blow that unit up. I mean, just go in and somehow destroy the entire site or the ammunition portion of the site. So, when that happened, it tended to always involve our unit because the impact was so strong that it carried over, yeah.
Do you have like anger or animosity towards the Viet Cong?
Oh no, I don't have any anger or animosity towards the Viet Cong or the Vietnamese. And on many days while serving there, we were not able to distinguish the difference as to who actually were Viet Congs and who were Vietnamese citizens just moving about.
Can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel about the war at the time when you were serving?
Well, at the time, I was just a young soldier. I was there to do my duty, and really didn't know much about the cause of the war or the politics behind it at that time.
And now, how do you feel about it?
Well, I think now I'm well aware of the fact that it was nothing more than a political technology. Yeah, that was put into place and eventually called the war. Yeah. What real purpose did it serve? And in actuality, did we win or did we lose the war? Many would say that we lost the war. We packed up and we left Vietnam.
And they rolled into Saigon.
Exactly.
I have a question also about your views about our engagements right now in foreign lands in the Middle East and stuff. Do you have any opinions about that?
Of course I do. I mean, if we're going to talk about Iraq, the country was led into Iraq under what I think most of us as citizens would believe now was under false pretense. Weapons of mass destruction. Well, just being a citizen here, when that became the rallying point, weapons of mass destruction, I recognized that Iraq didn't even have an airplane. They didn't even have an airplane for Saddam Hussein to fly in and out of the country. So what was this big deal about weapons of mass destruction? Sure, another deception that led us into that. Why? Obviously, it was another political thing and a desire to take control of the resource that this country needs and figure the rest of the world needs, oil.
Which is running out here.
Well, now they say that we're producing more oil in this country than we've ever produced in the past. Afghanistan, since you asked, what are we going to Afghanistan to obtain? The only thing that I know that Afghanistan produces in a very strong and serious amount is poppy.
Right.
Poppy.
Yeah.
They don't have any oil fields. The Russians were there before the Russians left. And this issue about the Taliban. So yes, poppy.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
So do you think, how do you feel about the U.S.'s role as international policeman then? Do you think that's the thing we should aspire to be, or?
I don't think that it's anything that we can continue to take on as being the police for the world. No, and it never really has been an assignment along the way as whatever coming out of World War II. America, along with its allies, decided that yes, we need to control the world order and what's going on. But we see the changes taking place, and with that desire of controlling the world order and being the police for the world, we spend more money on weapons of mass destruction than we spend on helping our people here at home.
Oh, one more question in regard to this. I'm sorry to hijack your interview, but what about ISIS now? You see all this stuff about ISIS?
I see all of this stuff about ISIS, and I'm trying to learn every day, sir, where did ISIS come from? Who has created ISIS? And what is ISIS all about? In fact, I watched the recent newsreel as of last evening's news, and I saw what they portrayed as ISIS troops wearing camouflage uniforms. Where are they getting those? So I'm not certain about ISIS yet. Still out in left field as to where ISIS is coming from, who's supporting ISIS, and ISIS' overall mission.
So to take it from there a little bit, you talked about changes going on right now. More women are going out, and they're letting women go out into the field more. How do you feel about women being in combat and being able to do these things now?
Well, I think that women can do these things. It's always been a attitude of the country that we protect our women. Therefore, they have not been allowed to go into combat. But in other countries, they've been out there in combat for years, doing things that men have done. So right now, there's a change of mind and attitude regarding how the females perform, but they can do things. And they've done things, and they've been involved in every bit of everything throughout this country, of course.
So you agree with it?
I agree if they want to participate at that level, of course, yes.
Okay. So were there, like, when you were in the service, what kind of ranks, like your commanding officers, do you remember them? Were they hard on you?
Not really, no. And really the interaction with commanding officers were very limited. Most interactions were with your senior NCOs, your platoon leaders, your company first sergeant, so forth. You would see the company commander maybe move about the company. The only time we would see the battalion commander is when he would arrive on site to interact or conduct an inspection, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what was your rank in the military?
Specialist E4. I stayed in the military for 34 months.
34 months?
34 months.
So they paid for school?
Oh yes. The benefits were tremendous, and I think many of my colleagues from school and those that I met from the Tri-County area on our date of enlisting, we enlisted with an idea of either becoming career soldiers or getting enough background to come out and do something else.
Oh, so you just wanted to come out and do something
Well, I decided while I was in the military, I enjoyed the military. I enjoyed everything about the military. It's a great opportunity. If one applies him or herself, they can learn and become involved. And if they really want to become a career soldier, they can do that. My primary concern that caused me to decide to leave the military is that at that time, the military was and still is, you follow orders. It got to be my thinking that, hey, you cannot think and come up with an idea in the military. And that just bothered me, that if I had a great idea, I could not present it because the military just wasn't about accepting ideas from subordinates. So that led to my departure. I had an opportunity to stay in the military and become a helicopter pilot and an officer that route. In fact, I applied for and was accepted into the school.
Which school was that?
That would have been a helicopter pilot training. However, I had to re-enlist for 9 years. I'd only been in the military about 9 or 10 months. And when the recruiter came to me and said, "You're all prepared and ready to leave," I said, "Good." I said, "Let's go." He said, "You need to re-enlist for 9 years." I said, "No, so I can't do that." Hell, I tried to make an arrangement. I said I would re-enlist for 6 years for the training. It was a 2-year school. I said I'd take 6 years, but not 9 years. 9 years re-enlistment, having been in the military less than 1 year, with a 3-year enlistment would have meant that I had 12 years up front to serve. Couldn't handle that up front, no.
So, did you have any motivation, like, to keep you in those 9 months? Like, what motivated you?
Oh, yes, I was a good soldier. I enjoyed the training, the interactions, everything about the military was a great experience for me. I enjoyed all of it. All of it, not to boast and brag, but I felt that I was a pretty good soldier. I made soldier of the month, soldier of the quarter. I enjoyed soldiering. Yes.
Now, would you say that there was like a race problem? Because some soldiers have been through that.
Oh,
African American
of
soldiers.
course there was a racial issue. There were men there that had never interacted with people from another race ever. And it came through, of course, while we were serving in Vietnam. There were those that would say things to the Vietnamese about the black soldiers, but that took place in World War II. Yeah, it was not an issue, it was an awareness that it was there, it exists, it still exists. I'm certain it exists in Iraq and Afghanistan, but it's not as easy to say that black soldiers are this and that when you're in Afghanistan and Iraq as it was to say in Vietnam. Yeah, but yeah.
Did you go through any of that with your commanding officer?
Oh no, not from the command staff. No, command staff was better trained than that. No, they never made an issue out of that. No, I never saw that coming from command staff. It was merely among the troops. Yeah.
Did you see a change in the military that mirrored like the changes that were happening in society with the civil rights movement? Did the military come along, as it were, or was it always?
Well, the military had made the change prior to the time that I enlisted, or was in the process of making the change.
Yes.
But yes, racism was still obvious in the military. The military was not allowed to have the same type of separation that it had prior to World War II. Or coming out of World War II, but yeah, it was still there, but it was more on an individual, it was not the military, it was on an individual basis. You know, there were those that, yes.
Did you, when you were there, did you keep like a journal or like a log that you kept of things that were happening?
No, I didn't.
You didn't just, why didn't you just?
I didn't feel any need, I didn't have any desire to keep a journal, no.
No journal?
No, you know.
Well, do you recall any like humorous events that took place?
Oh, there were many humorous events that took place. To sit here and try to select one to share with you would be time-consuming and difficult, but there were many humorous events. The time that I spent in the military was a great period of interacting, teaching, and learning for me. Yeah, I met folks that had information and knowledge. I met folks and I tried to, in Vietnam, shortly after being allowed off base on leave, there was a clothing store. A gentleman, and he was Hindu, that operated a clothing store just outside of the main gate of the Air Force Base. I went into his store on a couple of occasions and we engaged in conversation. And he shared with me that he had lived in New York for a while. He was a street peddler living in New York. Couldn't make any money. When the war started, he moved to Vietnam and opened up several clothing stores. And while we were speaking, he admitted that at that time he had grown quite wealthy. But he'd grown wealthy because of the attitude of GIs. He said GIs would come into any country and inflate the economy. And he gave me one point just to look upon. He said when we would ride on the Lambret was a little motorized taxi that you could catch and travel around the countryside. He said GIs would pay $1 to ride on that vehicle. He said he paid 1 cent, $1, which was 1 penny in Vietnamese money. But yet he was a millionaire and he only paid a penny. So when he gave me that insight, the next time I rode on a Lambret, I paid the driver $1. And the driver wanted to attack me because GIs had a mindset and a disposition about us to inflate the economy as if we had money. You know, while I was serving in Vietnam, I made less than $200 a month.
Oh, wow.
Salary was less than $200 a month. So as a GI, why would I go out and pay $1 for a penny ride? The mindset of GIs.
Wow. Did you see any similarities though? Because a lot of people say things are just different over there, but was it similar to you?
In regards to what the people?
Yeah, the people that you encountered.
No, people are pretty much the same throughout the world. People were trying to survive, trying to take care of their families, and trying to deal with the things that were taking place there. The majority of the population was just as equally, instead of, I will not use the word badly caught up, but equally caught up in the politics as we were, as soldiers and as American citizens in the politics of not really knowing what was going on at the time. So everybody's just trying to survive.
So everybody was just confused and...
Well, I wouldn't say totally confused, but less informed. Not having the knowledge as to what really was taking place. You know, the decisions that had been made by the money brokers and the politicians. They were not aware.
Let me ask you a question about when you came back from Vietnam. What was the treatment? How were you treated and how did you feel about it by the general public?
The segment of the public that I interact with were quite pleased. You know, they welcomed us home. I didn't actually encounter the outcries that were taking place in the country at that time against the war. So I didn't have any actual interaction there.
Did you think that public outcry against the war was widespread throughout the country, or was it just located in certain places that you didn't see?
No, I believe it was throughout the country, but less so in South Carolina because of the general mindset of South Carolina. Yeah.
Which hadn't changed much.
No.
Did you get into it for educational benefits?
No. Not for personal benefits. My background is law enforcement and criminal justice. I have a total of 38 years between policing and corrections. almost 19 years of actually policing, up to the point of serving an 8 months interim as the acting chief of police in the town of Mount Pleasant. After leaving there, I went into corrections, and what I observed is that there were just too many people incarcerated, people with great potential, but obviously had not been educated or afforded the opportunity or missed the opportunity. And as I observed that, hey, I need to participate from the other side of this. See what I can do to help, instead of seeing those persons incarcerated, to prevent it from this side. Therefore, I decided that I needed to become involved on this side by sharing information and by trying to teach those things that maybe the curriculum has left out for one reason or another.
Okay, so you said you went to a technical school for mechanics?
No, machinist.
Machinist. Yeah, so how did you make that switch from being a chief to?
Well, I mean, I did not discontinue my education there. I went on, got an associate's degree in police administration, an undergraduate degree in criminal justice and political science, and studies in public service administration, graduate studies in public service administration. Yeah.
So after you graduated, what did you do with that? You just...
Oh, no, well, I was working in the field when I completed my degree work. I was working in law enforcement.
Oh, okay.
Why did you leave corrections?
Well, I retired.
Oh, okay.
I retired from corrections, yes.
And then you saw the benefit in education.
Well, prior to my retirement from corrections, I had started to volunteer in the school system. As I stated a few minutes ago, I saw where there was just a serious problem. Young men coming into prison with great potential. However, somewhere, somehow, the system failed them. Coming into prison, I'll give you an example if I can. Oftentimes when I would speak with an inmate was serving time for robbery, armed robbery. And I would sit and I would ask the question, I said, son, why are you here? He said, you know why I'm here, have a right. I said, I want you to tell me. He said, armed robbery. I said, and what place did you rob? And he would say, I robbed a gas station. I said, you robbed a gas station? Just conversation. Yes, sir. I said, well, what is it that you were pursuing? What were you pursuing, son? He said, money. I said, son, how many banks did you pass on your way to the gas station? He said, I don't know, maybe 1, 2, or 3. I said, well, where do you find money? He said, huh? I said, where do you find money? He said, in the bank. I said, okay, well, why'd you pass the bank and go to the gas station? Just as a point of reference and conversation, obviously, he was not a true criminal and was confused. You're gonna go rob a gas station, sign in the window that says we keep $50 in the register, and walk past the bank with no sign in the window, but probably keeps $100,000 in the vault. So come on. Young people were just not being taught, trained, and the issues taking place in society were not being addressed properly. I wanted to participate from the other side.
Okay, is there anything at this point you would like to add or say?
No, other than expressing appreciation for this opportunity to share in this interview. I may have said too much already.
No, thank you, sir.
Okay, well, thank you for giving us the time.
Thank you for allowing me. Thank you.
Thank you.